Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Never Seen It. I'm your host. My name is Betsy, and with me, as always, is Trent.
Hello, fellow Oscar watchers.
Yes, Trent, it is that time of year again. It is Oscar season. The nominations are out, which means for the next 6 Sundays, we will be covering the remaining 6 movies that we have not covered that have been nominated for Best Picture. And as it happens, the one that we are starting with ties in neatly to tie up the series we were covering in the month of January. It's almost as if we planned this and that it was a possibility that it was going to shake out this way. The first movie we are watching of the remaining 6 is the Netflix exclusive Maestro. Obviously, Trent, the reason we're covering this is neither of us has watched Maestro. But why don't you tell our listeners what you know about this movie?
Leonard Bernstein! I had to make that joke. It was a requirement.
You have been sitting locked and loaded with an REM 1990s reference for all the young people who definitely know that song.
And who definitely listen to this podcast.
Obviously.
And definitely want to watch Maestro, of course.
Well, you do.
All the young'uns.
So, Leonard Bernstein, what do you know?
So, yeah, this is Bradley Cooper's baby. He has been trying to pimp this movie out for the past, I don't know, since he did that other movie he got nominated for. And it's kind of a biopic about Leonard Bernstein, the composer slash, I don't know what else, like songwriter. What is he?
Conductor, composer.
Yeah. I know the name.
He's the maestro.
I know the name Leonard Bernstein.
Yeah.
But like exactly what he has done, what I know of his, I'm sure I know things, but I can't connect his name with anything.
He's also well before our time, so unless you are in this world, like you are not really connected to symphonic music, composers, conductors.
John Williams.
You don't know, I don't expect you to know anything about this person.
That's fair. But I know that, Bradley Cooper plays the titular character. I'm going to say the word titular every time I can.
Titular?
Because it's funny. And I think this is also having to do with his love life. And Carey Mulligan plays a woman of interest of his. And we watched a trailer recently, or at least I watched a trailer recently, that suggests that maybe Leonard Bernstein is not all the way straight.
I think you're picking up what they're putting down, Trent.
Yeah, so this is one of those kinds of movies, but it's also, more of a biopic. So I'm really interested to see how they're going to frame this. Is it going to be half documentary? Because in the trailer, Leonard Bernstein is being interviewed. Like in the future when he's old.
In the trailer that you recently watched.
That I recently watched,
I don't think I've seen that trailer, if I'm honest.
I don't think so. But after it got nominated, I went and watched a trailer for this because I assume you know a lot more about this than I do.
I think you're assuming incorrectly. Because
okay.
I think you've now watched more trailers than I have. I'm just aware of the chatter on the internet and the little bits and pieces I've heard from people who have seen the movie and what they know it's about. So far, I think you're on the right track. But I do know that part of it's black and white and part of it's in color.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying about like documentary or question marks about the format of it. It's not that long. I was actually expecting this to be, oh God, it's going to be one of those 2.5 hour
right.
slow biopics. It's like barely 2 hours.
It's just over 2 hours.
It's just over, which
I appreciate.
Thank you, Bradley Cooper, for having some brevity at least when we're doing all these movies. Last year, we were just agonizing about, we have the 3-hour movies, 3-hour movies.
Last Oscars was a fucking slog because there was a whole bunch of long movies in there. None of them were bad, but again, it's a lot of time commitment for us this time of year. But that all being said about, the movie itself, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about the movie. I want to talk about, before we go and watch it, the controversy behind it. Because, yes, it got nominated for Best Picture. And yes, Bradley Cooper and his people have been out there pimping the absolute shit out of this movie to get nominated. Number 1 for Best Picture, number 2 for directing, and number 3 for him and Carey Mulligan getting nominated for Best Actor and Actress. They all did.
It worked.
But the overall, reception of the movie by critics has been, pretty good, if not a little bit tepid, but the audience apparently does not like this movie. It's got like a 60-some% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think even the critic score is in like the mid-80s, I think.
Is this going to be another Mank situation? Oh, God.
I hope not.
I hope not, because I think, we talked in other episodes, you and I actually like Bradley Cooper. I think he's a really talented guy. I think he's a very creative person. I think he just reeks of desperation this particular season.
He's gotten so close.
He's gotten so close and he wants it so bad. But we'll have a lot more to say about that after we've watched the movie and actually formed our opinions of it. So with that, let's go do it. We're going to go start our Oscar series, movie 1 of 6.
Starting one in the middle.
Starting one in the middle. Go back and listen to the other 4. You know how to find them. And we're going to watch Maestro, and we'll be right back. Back. That was our first of 6 consecutive Oscar entries. That was Maestro. Trent, how are you feeling after that movie?
So, Betsy, it's interesting that you say feel, because I feel like the movie wanted me to feel something, and I really didn't.
I kind of feel the same way. I don't think this is as bad as people have been suggesting it is, but there's nothing in it that really touched me, that really moved me.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing this movie really has going for it is Carey Mulligan.
Yeah.
I think she was terrific in this movie. But it's literally not until the end of the film where, she dies when she's in the process of going through that I felt anything at all. I didn't really feel like I learned anything about Leonard Bernstein. Everything that I had heard about was from the trailers, and I was like, yep, they kind of just tell you, well, he was a gay guy, but he was living in the 1940s and the 50s, and a lot of people just married women and tried to figure it out.
They lived whatever double life that they had, but Leonard Bernstein was a man of means, so, he could afford to be discreet.
Yeah, he had a way through it. He had a way to get around the societal norms, and nobody would think anything of it, which is why it's only mentioned in rumors. There are rumors going around.
Sure.
Well, yeah, because the rumors are probably true. He just doesn't have like a publicist to stifle them.
Yeah, otherwise people wouldn't talk that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Carey Mulligan was very good. I think her big moment was maybe the best moment in the movie, which is probably the only reason why this got an R rating, was their fight during the Macy's Thanksgiving parade with Snoopy outside.
Yeah, he's just going by the window and she's
moment.
Cussing him out about how he's full of hate and he's kind of pathetic and you need to figure your shit out.
And that's the thing. There's so much pent-upness from her. I think she's angry with herself that, number one, she got herself in this position because she knew Leonard Bernstein was gay. But she went along with it anyway because I believe that she was infatuated with the man and the persona that he put out.
And they loved each other.
And they absolutely loved each other. I do not say anything bad about that. But with that comes a lot of frustrations.
Yeah, she has a speech in the movie about how she thought she could live with enough.
Yeah.
That it would be okay, that what he offered was enough. And the longer time goes on and the more famous he gets, and the more in his shadows she becomes.
Literally.
She's literally like, okay, maybe it's not enough and I want more. But by the time you get there, it's almost the end of her life. She just doesn't know it yet.
Right. The two movies that I was thinking about the entire way, one of them might surprise you. The first one is the Rami Malek Freddie Mercury movie.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
That came out a few years ago. I mean, there's a lot of, themes in that one as well about being a closeted gay man, things like that, and being very famous. And also being married to a woman, or at least being in a relationship with a woman.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was Walk the Line.
I mean, it's a biopic. It's a guy who had demons and
So I
secrets.
think that's maybe where I'm coming from here, where I've seen this movie before. I haven't seen this story before. I didn't know anything about Leonard Bernstein other than the lyric from that song, like I said.
That shows up in the movie.
They fucking put it in the movie. I did not like that. I did not like that.
But how are you not? How are you not going to put it in when it goes to the 80s?
Easy.
He doesn't have any self-control, it would seem, as a filmmaker.
It's not that kind of a movie. I don't think that you deserved to get that little cheeky moment in there. It's not that kind of movie. But I digress. Those were the two movies that I was thinking about here. It's also because in Walk the Line, there are two very, powerhouse kind of actors in that movie that got nominated for Oscars, did they not?
Yeah, that's the one Reese Witherspoon won.
Right.
Sometimes I forget she has an Oscar because
Right.
she's been in TV land for a long time.
True. But yeah, like in this movie, I just don't think it was that special of a man, of a story, of a woman, of the relationship. Nothing here was that unique.
There is a problem that occurs when you are trying to cover someone's entire life. And this is something that everyone who has ever made a biopic struggles with. Do I tell the entire story or do I pick a timeline? We watched Elvis last year.
Just thinking of Elvis, yeah.
Elvis covered the whole gambit. And there were moments that were good, and there were moments that it was like, oh my God, is this movie ever going to be over?
But with Elvis, they did it from a different way. They did it from the general's point of view.
An outside perspective.
Yeah.
Yes. But then there are other movies, like we just rewatched Lincoln, where it takes place from a very specific point in time, and it only covers about 4 months of his life.
Yeah.
That's it. And because it's so contained, it's a much more successful story. Nobody wants to watch a 3-hour biopic about Abraham Lincoln from his little log cabin days in Illinois all the way to becoming a lawyer and then becoming the president and then getting shot. No one cares about that whole spectrum.
But that movie, Lincoln, earns its 2.5-hour runtime because it is packed full of events that are happening during this very small amount of time.
It's weeks and months. It's not years.
Yeah.
This movie, Maestro, starts in like 1939, 40. They don't really specify.
1939, they're talking about Hitler bombing Poland.
And it goes all the way until the 80s. So it basically goes through the rest of his life, from his first brush with success to the end of his days. And the core thing that we're really focusing on for most of the movie is the relationship with his wife. But I feel like they could have leaned even harder into that, or harder into his career. I kind of felt like it was a little middling. Like we didn't.
You think that they just dabbled in too many different places?
We were time jumping like crazy because we're trying to cover so much ground. Like first they meet, then there's a throwaway line later in the movie that says they were dating for 4 years.
Yep.
Then they agree to get married, and it's like 5 years or 10 years later. I think they say it's 10 years.
Something like that. Like they were together for 4 years before they got married. Then they jumped to the early 50s when they're doing the TV show Interview with Edward R. Murrow, the person-to-person television show where Ed Murrow just interviews celebrities.
They were puff pieces that he had to do so he could do the hard-hitting journalism he wanted.
Go watch Good Night and Good Luck. That is a fantastic movie about that about that era and that man. Anyway, then we reached the 1960s after that, where not only do we do a time jump, but the format of the movie also changes. Everything prior to this is in 4:3 black and white.
I didn't even notice it was in 4:3.
Yes.
For the first part of this.
Yes. And when we get to the 60s, it just turns into color. It's still 4:3, but everything is color. And there's that, like, this movie is very stylistic in that the way it is shot, the way everything is presented is in a very cinematic way, for lack of a better word.
Yes, I would say one thing about this movie, if you have watched a lot of old movies, you are going to experience this film in a very different way than if you have not. So, like, I grew up watching tons of movies from the 40s and the 50s and the 60s. You did not. You have seen a scarce number of movies from this era. I think I've made you watch more than you ever saw before you met me.
Yes.
So together we've seen more. But like, everything is in black and white. It's in 4:3. The way they have the cinematography, the way they are moving the camera, the way they are acting and speaking.
A lot of the lighting is very evocative of that time period as well.
It's very, very like 1940s. And the movie progresses and the style of film changes.
Yeah.
And this is clearly commentary on their relationship. It's supposed to make you feel a certain way about these two together, because they literally have a dream ballet where she says, I want to see it. I want to see the magic that you're supposed to be giving up because I have this mid-Atlantic accent.
Yeah, they all of a sudden leave this garden party and run off to participate in a dream sequence of On the Town, but it's also a commentary on their relationship. And this whole sequence just confused the hell out of me.
Well, it's weird because it's like, is this real? How much of this is real? So she says, let's leave the party. And we can just go because I'm so young and free and full of joie de vivre, and you're going to come with me and we're going to go. And they go to the theater, and I think they're really at the theater.
Yeah.
But then at some point, while she is watching this group of guys dance to the music he has written,
right,
there's just this weird cut, and all of a sudden, Leonard Bernstein is in the sailor suit dancing, and then a whole bunch of people come in and they're pulling them apart because this is the kind of thing that happens in a dream ballet. And there's that other guy that she was dating, I guess, because they didn't really clarify who that man was, but he was there in the beginning, and then he was there like to tempt her away. Like, she has a choice to make. She can be with this man or she can be with that man.
Okay, I did not.
Yeah, you didn't even catch that.
No,
but I've seen Oklahoma enough times to know that that's what they were trying to tell me.
Okay. But during that entire thing, again, it is a commentary on their relationship going back and forth, because there's a moment there where they're talking and she asks him or tells him something, and I can't remember exactly what led up to this, but he says the phrase, "I want a lot of things." Maybe she says, "I don't know what you want," or something like that. And he says, "I want a lot of things," and then the camera cuts to this man who is dancing in front of him, and he has these eyes that are just transfixed on this man, which is, of course, alluding to the fact that he is a gay man, and they just haven't really talked that much about that topic yet.
Do you feel like they went into it enough that we didn't need more, or you wanted them to really get into the weeds about that particular element of his life?
The only thing that I wanted more about that is I wanted them to talk about it more. And now I understand that is a thing that you just don't talk about in those days. You have this silent agreement that, Leonard, you can go off and do whatever it is that you're going to do. Don't involve me. Don't tell me about it. Don't do it in public. Don't do it in front of the kids.
Be discreet. She keeps saying it the whole movie.
Yeah.
You can do what you want, but be discreet. And even when she calls him out about his lack of discretion, she does it in front of other people in code. She's like, fix your hair.
Sloppy.
You're getting sloppy.
Because I'm catching you and I shouldn't be able to catch you.
I just found you in the hallway kissing some guy. Like, come on, dude, try harder. I don't know if I just wanted it to be more developed or this was fine. Like, again, it's something about the filmmaking where it's a lot of longing looks and passing glances.
Yeah. And
the way they're building that tension is just sort of coded in the first part of the movie, even though you know exactly what's happening.
It's subtext, but it's right out in the open.
Yeah,
it's weird.
But it's text.
even during that dream sequence, there was a moment there while they're up there dancing, and there's a bunch of dudes who pull them away from kissing each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just this weird hodgepodge of filmmaking that's bothering us.
I think that's really what it is. Again, I do not think that this is a bad movie in any kind of form. I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I just don't know where the uniqueness comes in.
because he's definitely trying some things. Like, I actually quite enjoyed the first part where it's black and white, and I'm like, okay, I see what he's going for here. It's like a 1940s musical. Then it shifts to the 50s, and it's kind of the age of TV. And there's like that scene that you mentioned where they're talking to Edward R. Murrow, where they have an effect of that really, really early broadcast television where it's not really in focus and it's in black and white, and they kind of run a filter over the film.
Yeah, it's like this weird motion blur because the televisions didn't have a good enough refresh rate back then, so everything kind of blended together. It looked amazing.
Yeah, it was a nice effect.
But other than that kind of thing, there isn't a whole lot of extra that they did. Even in the 1960s stuff, when they went to color, yeah, it's got that kind of 60s tinge to it. But other than just changing it to color, they didn't do anything special about that era.
And again, it just sort of hard cuts. Like, we go from this 40s musical to the black and white 1950s perfect husband and wife, white picket fence.
It kind of had that
TV
kind of film effect
family.
to it. Yeah, it had that kind of film effect to it, but they didn't do anything special like they did with the 40s.
And then they get to the 60s, and it's just kind of a film. Like, if they had done, like when we talked about The Holdovers, and I was like, okay, this is a movie that's supposed to be in the 70s. If they don't do that fucking zoom out, like that extreme start in and then zoom all the way out, that's such a 1970s film technique, I'm going to be really upset. And I was looking for it. Once I was like, okay, I think I'm picking up what he's putting down with the style of this movie. And we got into the 60s and 70s, and he kind of stopped doing that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, there's nothing unique about this. Why? So now it feels like a weird mistake, like the beginning is a completely different movie than later.
Yeah, like it's kind of like he ran out of steam by the midpoint of the movie. Like he ran out of ideas on the unique things to do with the camera.
Or it's the exact opposite, and we're reading too much into it, and it's just as life settles in, it stops being like a movie.
Maybe
that's
intentional.
Maybe I'm giving him more credit than he deserves, or maybe I'm picking up exactly what he's trying to communicate.
I don't know.
But it's not cut and dry. That's my point.
Yeah.
Is the average moviegoer is going to watch this and be confused as shit.
Maybe. But again, movies like this are not meant for the general public. I would not have sat down to watch this movie. I was actually kind of dreading watching this movie. I didn't want it to be nominated for Best Picture.
Just because of everything you've heard about it.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's not a subject matter that I really enjoy. I wanted to see the Queen movie because I like fucking Queen.
Right, but even that movie wasn't that good.
I liked it better than you.
Whole thing. But it's the entry that had a big company behind it and very, very big name producers putting a lot of weight behind Maestro. When you have Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg producing this movie, backed by Netflix.
There is a story behind that. So, number one, Netflix was not apparently the original backer of this movie. It was Paramount. So it moved over to Netflix when Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg passed on it. And the reason they passed on it was because Bradley Cooper showed those other two guys his cut of A Star is Born before it ever came out. And they told him, dude, you need to do Maestro. Because you did such a good job on A Star is Born, you were able to capture a unique perspective on this classic story. You need to go off and do this other music movie. And I agree. Holy shit. That year of the Oscars, A Star is Born, that movie fucking killed me.
It ruined you.
It was the first version of that movie. We talked about it when we did the 1950s version. That was the first time I'd ever seen that story, and it just wrecked me. That was my number one Oscar movie of that year. So he sold me. I love that movie. That's one of the Oscar movies that I have actually gone back and watched multiple times without Betsy.
Oh yeah, I've not seen it in its entirety since then.
Yeah, just because I felt so much with that movie. This one, I didn't get it. And maybe it's because this is trying to be more couched in reality. I mean, it is a dude's life, so maybe he just couldn't play with the material as much, so his playfulness as a director came with the camera tricks, and maybe he just ran out of ideas. I don't know.
Yeah, we have seen him direct movies before. We know he is a talented guy. I don't think this is ultimately going to go down as his best work, but I appreciate the effort that went into it. You can look at this and tell this man cared very, very deeply about this movie, and we talked about it in the intro. He's just a guy that has worked on this project for so many years. He has put a lot of effort into this.
Yeah.
You said he practiced... He tried for 6 years to learn how to conduct a 6.5 minute piece.
Yeah. That last piece in London where he is conducting that entire orchestra, that is real. He is up there conducting that entire thing. That is the live recording of that group. They did it once, and that's it. So that's impressive.
It is impressive, but it's also like, that's a lot. Like,
yeah.
I just think back, this is the second year in a row we've watched a movie about someone who is a conductor. I don't know if you pieced that together, but I'm pretty sure I heard some story that last year when Cate Blanchett was talking about becoming a conductor, she watched like a 20-minute YouTube video and learned how to conduct. And so that's the difference. Like, she almost won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Bradley Cooper is like the butt of the joke this entire season, because people don't love this movie. And because it's getting all this recognition, they don't understand it. And I can see the problem reconciling those two things.
Yeah, and I think maybe he's taking a little bit out of his subject here, because they're talking about in the movie here that Leonard Bernstein was fucking full of himself. He thought he was just this genius.
He was the shit.
That no one could ever understand the depths of my genius.
I'm a tortured genius.
Yes.
I get so sad and I don't know where it comes from.
Yes. Bradley Cooper's kind of doing the same thing. He's not calling himself a genius, but I think he thinks highly of himself, and the work and the effort that he put into this is more deserving than a lot of other people's efforts on other movies.
I always think back to the Actors Studio when they did Inside the Actors Studio. Bradley Cooper actually was a part of the Actors Studio. And
Yes,
if you go back and watch those old episodes, he is in the front row for like everyone.
So eager.
He's so eager, and he has carried this reputation his entire career. He is a very, very eager guy. And there is something very endearing about that. Like, he wants to be good and he wants you to like him, but also it's like, chill the fuck out, dude.
Yeah.
You could just make the movie. You don't have to learn how to conduct for 6 years to make a movie. You don't need to learn to play the piano. If you are that committed to your craft, great. But that's really, really intense. Like, most people, they have like a dummy keyboard and they learn enough to fake it, but they don't actually have any notes playing on the piano.
All you have to do is shift the camera about 20 degrees to the right so that you're not showing the keys.
Or you somehow figure out how to have someone else's hands in your body. There's a lot of ways to fake it till you make it.
Of course.
And I guarantee you, Bradley Cooper spent a lot of time learning to play the piano just for this like one scene in the movie where they show his hands.
Yeah.
The rest of the movie, they kind of don't show his hands when he plays the piano.
No, it's just that one scene.
There's like maybe two, like the very, very beginning.
Okay.
But let's talk some more about Bradley Cooper. So obviously he is getting a lot of recognition for this movie. We have some mixed feelings about that. I don't think he's bad in this. There were actually moments where I kind of lost track of Bradley Cooper because he is doing like a thing to his voice. At the beginning of the movie, he's very young and very excited and upbeat, so his voice is very high and clear.
Yeah.
And then he spends 60 years smoking cigarettes.
God, there's so much fucking smoking in this movie. It is disgusting. But you're right. He does have an evolution of not only his voice and how deep it is, and how like he's very nasally, and a lot of in the latter half of the movie he's very nasally. But he kind of did the same thing in A Star Is Born with that character. He's like way, way, way down. In the same way, it's cigarettes and booze that do that to you. So I get that, yes, there is an evolution here, but I think the thing that really impressed me, not necessarily about him, but I think it got nominated for best makeup. Like, the makeup and the get-ups in this movie are fantastic.
The makeup is pretty good. I'm not going so far as to say it's fantastic, because I would say when he is middle-aged and old, it's very good. When he is young, it is off-putting. They kept zooming in very close on his face, and it's like they did the prosthetics and then de-aged him or something, because his face looked very freaky to me when they were up close.
The one thought I had about that is, I feel like maybe at one time they didn't make the choice to make it in black and white, then they filmed it in color or HD or whatever the hell, and they look back at it and it looks real bad, so they just quick put a black and white filter over it, and then it looks better.
There were parts where I'm like, why is it so dark? It's not well lit. It's black and white, but it's not done artistically. I was having trouble seeing. It's like, is this a mistake? Or are you trying to hide the prosthetics?
I didn't get that.
There was a couple of scenes where it was bothering me. But no, the extreme close-ups with his makeup, like the way his mouth was so tight. Like, they're trying to make him look like he's 25 or whatever years old.
Yeah, like they are caking it on for that early portion. Fine, I get that. But the gradual aging of the character, that was really well done. Both of them. All of the characters here had some kind of aging makeup on them.
I felt like Carey Mulligan, her change was so subtle. Like,
she also wasn't that old. She died when she was like 58.
It was kind of bothering me at first because, of course, Leonard Bernstein is rapidly aging, and then she still is like blonde and young looking. And then you told me that, and I was like, oh, no, that makes a lot more sense, that she just was very young when they met.
Yeah.
And so she died very young. But yeah, her makeup is much more subtle. It's not until you get to like the 70s and they diagnose her where I'm like, okay, now she looks like a middle-aged woman.
Yeah.
But while we're on the topic of Carey Mulligan, did you have any other thoughts about her performance? Because like I said, she is really, really good. And she's carrying this movie for a lot of it. When she is diagnosed with breast cancer, that's like a fucking devastating scene. Like, she just fully breaks down. And for the rest of the movie, she is like trying to hold her shit together. And it's really, really hard to watch.
The best moments of hers come when she has been holding something in and she's finally getting it out in some way. I already mentioned when they're fighting on Thanksgiving, where they are straight up yelling at each other when their family is in the other room. And of course, this is after, I guess he has this big performance and she kicks him out of the bedroom the night before. And they haven't seen each other the entire day. And he comes into whatever room that she's in and they have this fight. And at the end of it, you know, she's saying, you are just so full of anger. You are so full of yourself. And she's just kind of laying it all out.
I love how she phrases it. He's like, oh, you're just depressed. You're sad. And she says, no, you should fucking love this. This is about you.
Yeah.
You diva. You old queen.
Well, she says literally, if you're not careful, you're going to die a lonely old queen.
Yeah. She knows exactly what he is.
Yeah.
And she's sick of his shit. And he needs to hear this.
And she never brings that up. When she does, it's for a good reason.
She's using it to snap him back into place, basically. The only time she calls out his behavior in the bedroom, as it were, is when she's like, you are slipping. You need to get on the right track.
Yeah.
Get your shit together, dude.
There's another moment here later on when the Maya Hawke daughter character had been off to some school or some other place where she was starting to hear some rumors about her dad. And the rumors being that, hey, he's kind of a deviant.
Or what they would call that in...
Whatever. But they're in this little room and he's changing his pants. Two movies that we have done back to back where somebody's Donald Ducking it. At least he was wearing underwear. But she says this line, don't you dare tell the truth.
Yeah,
to our daughter.
Go and talk to her, make her feel better, but don't you dare tell her the truth. And he's even saying, well, she has a right. She's old enough. I can tell her. And she's like, fuck, no, you cannot.
Yeah.
You are not going to make her day even worse by making this about you.
Right, and like, they have this entire persona of this couple and this family. She's the one who is holding all of that together. And I think it's coming back to this whole being sloppy thing. If he starts talking about it publicly, even with their own family, it's going to be a problem.
Once you say it out loud, it becomes real. And once it's real, everyone has to deal with it.
It's all going to spill out.
Everything's going to change,
and
too.
You can tell during that scene where he's sitting down on that bench with his daughter, he wants to tell her. He wants to talk about it. There is a torturedness of his face there where he wants to say it, but he does not say it.
That is one of the things I actually really liked about this. Both he and Carey Mulligan have a number of scenes where you can look at them and see what is being processed, like what they're thinking, what they're holding back.
Yeah, these two actors are fantastic actors.
They're at the top of their game in this. Like, they're very, very good. In those quiet moments in particular where it's all reaction.
And when it's just them.
Yeah, when it's just them and they're conveying something without saying it. But there's another moment like at the end when he has his big performance and he's sweating and she's there and they reunite after they've been separated for a while.
Yeah.
And she says, you don't have hate in your heart. Like the thing that she had said before to basically hurt his feelings and ruin him.
Sure.
She's now taking it back and they reunite and have a joyous last however long they had together, a few years.
Couple years.
A couple of years. But as soon as they get back together, she gets diagnosed.
Right.
And then he becomes a completely different person. He says, I'm not leaving. That orchestra will understand. I've been there 15 fucking years. They can fucking figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving. And then he screams into a pillow. Like, he doesn't want to let everyone else in this house know how fucking devastated he is.
Because, like you said, he does absolutely love this woman.
They're best friends. They're soulmates in the way that people who are just alike, where they connect. They might not be what you would call the typical American couple.
Sure.
But in these days, that was pretty typical. Let's be real. Mm-hmm. Closeted gay men married women in the 1950s, and the women knew. They all knew. They're not stupid.
Sure. Like his lover from the beginning, the Matt Bomer character, apparently that was a real person. That man married 3 different women.
He just hadn't found the right wife yet.
Right.
That was the problem, Trent.
Another thing that, as long as we're kind of on this topic, another thing they did not talk about in the movie whatsoever, but it was in the IMDb trivia. Leonard Bernstein went through conversion therapy. He went through like years of this stuff, and clearly it didn't work because it never works.
It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing.
It's just a way to torture people who are already tortured.
Exactly. But clearly he was a tortured soul, because he was never public about it. Even later in life, I don't know what this whole thing is based on, because clearly at the beginning of the movie, there is a camera crew interviewing him at the very beginning and at the very end. And this is, near the end of his life. He died in 1990. But even then, there's not a whole lot of people talking about, being public about being gay.
Which he obviously very late in life was a little more open. They show him in the club dancing with that guy, and he's like sweating and his shirt's open, and they're not really worried about being seen. I'm sure it's like a gay club or something, but...
Well, and it's like an open secret, much like, Freddie Mercury. It was an open secret about him. He just never talked about it.
Everybody in the industry knew, though.
Right. But it doesn't mean that they were comfortable on a personal level talking about it publicly.
So going back to that scene where he's talking to his daughter, I like that the excuse he gives is, well, they're just jealous.
Right.
It's jealousy.
They're making something up.
I was born a genius and someone tried to shoot me once because I'm so wonderful.
Yeah.
And then this other person tried to strangle me. He tried to kill me because I'm so much of a genius.
So they would go that far. They would go that far to make up this crazy story that is very much true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of diva behavior.
Right.
But also the fact that he's just like, this is what it is. And she goes, okay, that makes me feel better. I mean,
She didn't want to have to deal with that.
yeah. And there's that scene later on the phone where he kind of says something to her about his dating life.
Right.
And she's like, please don't talk to me about this, Dad. Please.
Yeah.
Because at this point, it's still the 70s. And that was a very, very new concept for most people. It was the very, very early days of people actually being out and proud. Like, that didn't exist pre that time.
Yeah.
They also had the obligatory moment to demonstrate it's the 1970s. Everybody's doing cocaine. Why is that? Every movie, we have to do cocaine because it's the 70s. Is that just the time? It's the marker of time?
Well, it started in the 70s anyway. It got really big in the 80s.
I know, but it didn't need to be in this movie. Like, did he have a problem with drugs? We didn't really explore that.
No, it was just the one time.
There's some joke about him taking pills, and then they show him doing coke. But they don't actually explain anything in detail, so I don't know who this man is. Like, was he a drug addict? Did he just like cigarettes? He smokes like a chimney this whole movie.
I would like to know the percentage of time on screen where he either has a cigarette in his finger or his mouth.
It's like 95% of the movie. Almost every scene, whatever he's doing, there is a cigarette.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered the big things, Trent, so I'm sure there are some other items you want to discuss before we start wrapping this up. What do you got?
So, talking about the stylistic nature of this movie, early on, there were a few scenes that I really, really liked. First of all, when they're kind of on their date and they go to this stage where she's kind of showing off her acting skills because she's an actress. Mm-hmm. At the very, very end, they're transitioning into, hey, she's going to be on stage taking a bow after a performance, and this is kind of where, time starts to speed up a little bit. There is a transition that went from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen where it is her in frame and the entirety of the frame transitions to it being filled up with everybody from an empty theater.
As she passes behind him.
Something, yeah.
He's standing there, she passes behind, there's a cut, and she's now in the theater on the stage on a performance night.
Fantastic transition.
And then at the end of that sequence, she takes a bow, and when the bow comes up, it's him. Yeah. There's some cool editing things, like when he gets the phone call that he's going to conduct for the first time, he's like living in the apartment or something above Carnegie Hall. He's in the building, and they just have this swooping shot where he's running down the stairs and running down the hallway, and then it's like, what is this round curve? And then he emerges, and he is in the theater. And my favorite thing about that was he's like, well, I didn't get any time to rehearse with the orchestra because he's a fucking diva.
Yeah, he was full of himself back then. But yeah, you're right. It is this overhead tracking shot. He's running into the auditorium. After he gets the call, immediately he is out of breath and he has to light up a cigarette. I lived with my father for a lot of my life who that is the very first thing that he wants to do. Whether he wakes up in the middle of the night or he's waking up to go to work or whatever, it was the first thing that he wanted to do.
In those days.
So I can't relate personally, but I know what that mentality is at least.
You've seen it firsthand, the need. It's the first thing all the time. And this guy clearly was a lifelong dedicated smoker, that Leonard Bernstein. Yeah, there's another shot where as his star is on the rise, again, a very 1940s filmmaking trick where he is conducting and his large shadow is overcasting. It's filling the whole screen, and there is little baby Carey Mulligan way in the background in his shadow.
Where she herself is lit up, but the shadow is over the top, and it's kind of drowning her light out a little bit.
That is the most 1940s movie trick I think I've seen in a modern film.
I love that shot.
Also, I think it's funny that them as a couple, they talk really fast and over each other the way that we are currently doing.
And they did that in the 1940s. In those scenes where, like, they're in this booth. It was a weird thing.
They're getting to know each other.
Yeah, they're, like, just talking over each other at a mile a minute. And, you know, that's just kind of how people talked back then, I guess.
And as a couple, when you're telling a story, you and I cannot help but say, and this and that, and this and that. So sorry for anyone who's ever met us or just listened to this podcast and then watched that movie and recognized some familiar behaviors.
We're delightful, Betsy. What are you talking about? Well, I only have one more thing, but before I get to it, Betsy, I have a question.
Okay.
Who abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule?
All right. I want you to remember this line of dialogue because I said at the end of last year when we did our awards special, maybe we need to have a category for best line.
Best, or even best, like, line reading.
Best line reading. It's because it's not just what he says. It's who abandoned Snoopy in the vestibule?
Right.
It's so over the top. And he's carrying this fucking doll. Yeah, that was delightful. And there's a few moments of very strange dialogue. Like he's talking about taking a very large dump and he's talking about farting at one point.
That was my thing. I wanted to talk about them on the floor after clearly they were having sex of some kind, and they're talking about, he's saying, well, I just love every piece of air coming out of you. And she jokes, oh, I hope not every piece of air coming out of me.
It was weird.
And they're just like talking around the fact that, yeah, she farts, whatever.
And then the thing about him taking a really large dump later in the movie.
That was later, yeah.
But I'm like, why? Why would we is it because he was just a crass little man? Then why isn't he crass the whole movie?
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't enough of it. This is one of those movies where there's not enough of some things and there's too much of other things. And all together, I can see just kind of generally why people are like, I don't understand this movie.
It's at the very least inconsistent.
Yeah. It's not bad, though. I'm going to tell you, this movie is not as bad as I was being led to believe it is.
I would say I can understand how, like, we talk about the Rotten Tomatoes, critic score and the audience score. I can understand how audiences would not enjoy this movie. But critics, it's kind of an artsy-fartsy thing, and, people who watch a lot of movies can understand a lot of the references.
Critics are pretentious!
Yeah! Hi, my name is Trent. I'm a movie critic. Anyway, no, that is all I had to say about Maestro, Betsy. Did you have anything else?
I do, Trent, and obviously that is to talk about Oscars. The reason we watched this movie is to discuss what it has been nominated for. So now we've seen it, let's talk about Oscars. This movie was nominated for Best Achievement in Makeup and Hairstyling, Best Sound, Best Motion Picture of the Year, Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role, Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Achievement in Cinematography.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. And I'm going to tell you right now, of all of those, makeup
is up there.
I feel like makeup might be the one. I know last year there were a lot of people that were like, oh, the fucking whale. Why is the whale nominated for makeup? And then it won and they hated it. It's like, well, if it's good and the people who vote on it are the makeup people.
Right. Like, terrible, terrible movies get nominated for best, visual effects. So why do you hate that? You're not blaming the visual artist for how it looks if it's a bad movie. But I would say I get why it got nominated for sound, because sound has a lot of different stuff associated with it, because it used to be 2 different awards. Now it's 1. So what I enjoyed about it was the fact that they are integrating all of this Leonard Bernstein music into the movie itself.
Yeah, there is no score. It's all stuff he wrote and composed.
Yeah. So it is seamlessly integrated with a lot of different moments in the movie. There was even one moment where it is some music from West Side Story, and you thought, oh man, this is where, what is it, the sharks and the greases, whatever the fuck they are?
It's the very opening sequence where there's
going to be a fucking rumble.
There's going to be a fucking rumble.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, she's going to start a fight when he gets in there.
Right, and she kind of did. So I get where they're coming from when it comes to sound. Also, you know what? Recording big-ass orchestras is really hard to do.
Are you fucking kidding? Yeah, you have to mic a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And you're doing it in the context of a movie, which means you can't have it show up in the screen.
Yeah.
So that element alone is technically very, very difficult.
Yeah. So taking out, what we think about the movie, it is just these technical things. Yeah, they nailed it. Same thing with cinematography. Yes, there are enough moments here that are very, unique and special.
Cinematic, you might say.
The ones that we just talked about. So I get that. It looks good. The rest of it,
Trent, I think it's just as likely that this movie is going to be winning nothing.
Oh, yeah.
I think this might very well, if it wins anything, it will win makeup. I think that is its best shot. But looking at the field, comparing all of the rest of them, we already know Bradley Cooper is not winning Best Actor. There's just I don't know a world in which that happens. Carey Mulligan, if there were justice in the world, would already have an Oscar for Promising Young Woman, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, and that is a more of a dark horse kind of a pick. I would not choose her for this. She was fantastic. I have no problem with her in this.
It's just probably not going to be her year.
It's not her year.
Yeah, if she hasn't already started winning awards, she's not about to start.
Exactly.
She's very, very worthy of being in the company, though.
Stranger things have happened. I would be ecstatic for her to win. I don't care. But of course, the reason why we're doing this movie in the first place is because it got nominated for Best Picture. It doesn't have a chance in hell.
I think they are very, very glad it is even to be considered. But like I said, this might be one that doesn't win a damn thing. And that is one thing I'm noticing in the last few years in particular. Now that there's more Best Picture nominees, the first few years, I found it was like a sprinkling where, they would win one and you would win one and they would win maybe two. Now it feels a lot more, that movie wins 6 and that movie wins 2 and you get nothing. You get nothing. Like that happened. How many movies last year won nothing?
Yeah.
It was more than one, I'll tell you that much.
Well, Everything Everywhere won like everything, so...
It won everything, everywhere, all at once. But that is going to be an interesting thing this year as we go down and talk about more of these movies and revisit the ones that we already covered now that we know what they're actually nominated for. Come March 10th to see what actually gets nominated. But until that time, I think that's going to do it for Maestro. Have you seen this movie? Are you like us watching all 10 Best Picture nominees? Or are you putting this one off until the very last minute? What have you heard about this? How did you feel about it? We would love to hear your thoughts. You should definitely email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. And of course, we have such an email from our superfan Stephanie about the first movie we did in this Netflix series, because if you've forgotten, this is also the end of the series we were doing in January. Bringing it back around to White Noise, a film by yet another person who got nominated for an Oscar this season. She begins, "We literally watched this a week or two ago. This is very what the hell. I enjoyed probably 60% of this movie. Overall, I feel very dissatisfied. My husband straight up hated it."
That is an easy movie to hate. I get that.
Yes, this is one that is not going to be for the masses again.
Yeah.
She continues, "I was curious about the book, but now hearing that they were very faithful to the book, I will not be reading it. I don't mind the dialogue cacophony. What bothered me was the randomness of the plot. I'm sure they were trying to make a point about how there is no real linear plot in life. I was okay with part 1, and I liked part 2. Part 3 goes off the rails, and I super hated it."
Okay.
That's kind of what I said. Like, there's 3 distinct parts. I liked the first 2. I didn't feel as strongly about the third, but it had a strong finish, so. Continuing on. "I am lukewarm on Noah Baumbach. I hate The Squid and the Whale. I like Marriage Story and Frances Ha. And honestly, you've only seen Marriage Story of that bunch.
Correct.
There are lots of themes and ideas in this movie that are interesting, but I just don't think it was for me. The end was too much." See, there's where I disagree. I think the end is just enough. It's perfect in its own quirky way. Go and listen to that episode if you don't feel like watching the movie. Or if you don't feel like watching the movie, skip to the end of the movie on Netflix and just see what they're talking about.
Nothing to lose.
She finishes with some of the movies that she has recently watched. She says, "We watched Bird Box Barcelona and really liked this sequel. I didn't know there was a sequel, Trent. Bird Box I know exists.
Yep.
But I didn't know about Barcelona until just this second."
Is this like a Survivor thing where they do go to a different island every season?
I'm guessing it's kind of like in an apocalyptic world, there's other people in other parts of the world, kind of like how The Walking Dead is now in Paris. I was just going to
say, it's The Walking Dead, but it's on the West Coast now.
I don't know. Who knows? She continues, "I actually went to the movie theater twice. Once with the whole family to see Trolls Band Together, and once with my dad to see The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Trolls was super fun and cute, and Songbirds and Snakes was a really good adaptation that I loved. Love you guys, super fan, Stephanie."
That's interesting to hear about the Hunger Games thing because I really liked the first 3 Hunger Games.
Or at least the first 2.5.
The fourth one is goddamn dog shit.
Maybe, we waited a long time to watch that,
yes,
and I almost wish we just hadn't ever done it.
God, that movie sucks. And that last one, fuck. Anyway, I'm glad to hear that there are some redeeming qualities about that one, the prequel that they just put out.
But I'm confused by it because, of course, the star is the younger version of the villain in Hunger Games.
Yes, it's an origin story.
I don't want to see him be likable. I want to see him be a villain. And I hate that there is this whole generation of things happening where we keep giving redeeming qualities to villains. Sometimes it's fun, but sometimes it's like you're making them too likable, and when something bad happens to them, I'm gonna feel bad. And I don't want to feel bad about them. I want to hate them.
Okay, Betsy.
It's a thing, Trent. It's a whole genre that we're going through right now. Disney is particularly guilty of this. With Maleficent, with Cruella. Yes, it might be.
You liked Cruella?
I did, but that isn't the point. My point is there's a ton of movies that keep trying to do this to mixed effect. And in the case of Hunger Games, that guy's a real piece of shit who sends people to their deaths. I am not interested in a prequel where he is just this humble young man who hasn't learned the tough lessons about life. I'm not interested in that.
I could say something about Star Wars and Anakin Skywalker and having his arc, but I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
You just had to bring up Star Wars. You always have to find a way to work it into the conversation.
On this podcast, yes, I do.
Well, if you want to talk to us about Star Wars or Maestro or the humble origins of whatever his name is, Snow from Hunger Games, you too can be like,
or
Stephanie. Snoke. Stop with the Star Wars references. Email us, neverseenitpod@gmail.com. You can also find us on all social media. We're on there all the time, so if you want to send a message on there, feel free to do so. We also, if you haven't been paying attention, have started a Patreon, so you can join us patreon.com/neverseenitpod for 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 brand new shows that you can enjoy every single month.
All 4 shows for January are up on the Patreon, but as a special added bonus, we are putting out this Wednesday a special episode, not about a movie, but we did our Oscar nomination reaction show. We've never done that before. We put it up on the Patreon because, hey, there's 5 Wednesdays in the month of January, so we wanted to put out something extra.
And this is special just for you Patreon friends.
Yes, and we had already recorded that thing. We recorded it on the day the Oscars came out, so our thoughts could be very fresh. So there's not going to be anything that we know about Maestro in that episode. So I don't remember what I said in that episode about Maestro. So go and listen to it. Check it out. Maybe we're completely wrong.
So yes, go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod. All of that could be yours for just $5 a month. We would love if you come hang out with us over there. But that is going to be it for Maestro. We have another episode coming out next Sunday and several more Sundays after it with all of the remaining Best Picture nominees that we haven't covered yet. Next up, we are planning on covering Past Lives. This is another movie that has been out for some months. We've heard very, very good things, so we're not waiting any longer. Tune in next week for Past Lives. Join us on Patreon for all the rest of that stuff. And until then, This has been Never Seen It. My name is Betsy.
My name is Trent.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.